Can I please introduce, do I even need to introduce tonight's panel? Yes. Running for Auckland Mayor, Chlöe Swarbrick.
Hello.
Mr. Bill Ralston, who's running for councillor on the Waitemata and Golf Board.
Yeah.
And Chang Hung, who is running to be on the board of City Vision. Thank you. Thank you all three for making the time and coming along tonight. Firstly, I love the synergy that we've all got in the sense that all three of you, and me included, have worked in the media previously.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you... I don't think that's bad, but I think you're the one that should answer that. Is that a bad thing?
I was saying, is that planned?
Oh, planned.
No, I don't think it's bad. I think it allows us to understand what we're doing from a different perspective, which I think is great, actually.
You understand the media.
Yeah.
You understand the questions. You know where they're coming from.
Yeah, it's very different being on the side of answering those questions, though, and I have found that because it's a lot easier to hold someone to account than it is to be held to account. But again, I think that is the role of media, to be a check and balance on us politicians.
Bill, you're a media advisor. You must be nailing all your interviews.
Look, Chloe, you need our support. My wife Janet can give you some really good advice on how to... Okay, I'm joking.
I'm good. I've had a few people actually approach me to give me some advice, but no, I think I'm doing quite well.
Look, I had 30 years in the media and then I had 10 years running my own business, and I just thought I've got 10 years to go in active life before I put my feet up and have a cigarette and, very politically indiscreet cigarette, but never mind, I'll have a cup of tea and I'll lie down. I thought, why not? Why not? I've spent 6 years watching this council stuff things up. Why not make it work, or try and make it work?
And Chang, you've been apparently eating like chicken nuggets yesterday on the edge. You're still very involved with commercial radio. You're now getting into local body politics. It's not a usual trajectory, but I love it.
No, it's not. I've done media for 14 years, not as long as Bill has. So, I've done it. And I think it's actually prepared me for something like this, being interviewed and speaking in public. And then what I'm trying to bring into the local government election is that a lot of young people just don't care. And what we on the edge is trying to do, just to make it a little bit fun. So a prime example yesterday, Dom, who leads in our ward of Waitemata, to win his vote is that I have to do certain things throughout the week. And one of the examples were eating 100 chicken nuggets. So because one of the Paralympians who won 2 gold medals and 1 silver went and had that right after the game. So I did 68 and started spewing my guts out. So you'll
be...
Yeah.
Did you ate 100 or 68?
No, 68. 68, Bill. He actually didn't do 100. He only did 38. So I actually doubled that. So, yeah.
So like Chloe, in a sense, you are definitely going after that youth vote.
Can I just speak on that issue? Yes. So again, I have addressed this multiple times. I am not solely going after the youth vote. That's something that's pinned on me because of the way that I look and because my age is in headlights. Although, interestingly enough, people have recently started getting my age wrong.
What are they saying?
Saying that I'm 23. Oh. So I've gone up a step.
I think the thing is, though, Chloe, that young people resonate with you. And and that's, they might not resonate with older people. So it's a compliment. I mean, it's not a negative.
I think what our candidacy represents is a paradigm shift more than anything. But I am going after the 2/3 of Auckland that didn't vote last election. But also everybody who feels disenfranchised and disenchanted, everybody who feels as though they don't have a connection with Auckland Council, which is currently reflected in our 15% satisfaction ratings.
I know. Actually, let's ask that. How are you going to get people's trust? Nobody likes the council, or nobody relates to them. Could you all tell me one thing each, what you think you're going to do? Perhaps, Chang, let's start with you. How are you going to gain trust?
Well, the thing is that I believe there's a massive disconnection. Like, if you go and complain to people, and the council doesn't do anything about it, or as a local board, we are like the community voice. We're the connecting partners to them to make sure everything works. A prime example, the other day I was door knocking Kimana F, which is just around the corner here. The lady called the council for over a year to get the tree was over the power lines and the branches were all falling into bits and falling into cars and falling into people walking. And she called the council for 1 year and they have done nothing. So I took down her number, took it to my local board, and also the current councillor, Mike Lee, no disrespect to you, Bill, he got it sorted right away, It's just like, you just had to make things work like that. So the connection is just missing. So people have to let people know
So there
And
needs to be more face, more door knocking.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, and getting out there. Like before I came here, I actually door knocked parts of Ponsonby, just to get to the people, just get to know who they are voting for. That's the
Bill.
most important thing.
Bill, do you want to go more door knocking? Do you think that's the way?
Well, I enjoy door knocking. I've been forced into it, and I've actually really enjoyed it. Chloe's right, by the way. It's not a matter of her age. It's a matter of her ideas, and she's got some really good ideas. Whether she's 22, 42, or 62, it doesn't matter. If you agree with someone and their ideas, it doesn't matter how old they are. You're right too. God, I'm agreeing with everybody. What the fuck have I done here? Local boards need more power, and they do need more power, and they need more funding. No doubt about that. And that's one of the great things that's shown out over the last 6 years.
I think they also need a better mandate as well, because right now we aren't actually seeing the community engagement and accountability that needs to happen.
Yeah. Chloe, going back to the age thing in a sense.
No, that's cool. I've answered a lot of
Why are
questions
you
on that.
focusing on her age?
I ask everybody here, how old is Phil? How old is Vic?
Phil's
and tell
my age, and Vic's about 5 years younger, yeah.
Yeah.
You came in really late to the race, in a sense.
I did.
Maybe 10.
I wondered if you sort of had any regrets or thought, oh gosh, if I'd come in earlier, if I had fundraised more, where would you be now? Would you be at number 4, or could you be even higher?
I have no regrets at all with how I've run this campaign. So the reason I entered so late is, to be perfectly honest with you, I was waiting for somebody else to do it. I was waiting for somebody who is, quote marks, more experienced, somebody who has that backing to actually go out and engage the community. Nobody did. And further, I felt that I couldn't engage with any of the visions that were being put forward. So I was working as a journalist at the end of last year and actually interviewing all of the candidates. I read Paulino's book.
How was that?
Yeah. Great reading.
Out
great
of 10,
reading.
Paulino's book?
I refuse. He has a movie now as well.
Ah, wow.
He won't be fond of those comments. So I'm sorry, John. Yeah.
How are you guys using social media? I mean, no, actually, that's not a question, because I've been seeing how you've all been using social media, and it's a really, really great asset, but yet some people aren't using it. And then people, in a sense, like, you must be able to see how people are reacting to you. How are you finding that?
Well, part of it's a setup too, because different political alignments line up people to have a go at you. And I've covered politics for 30 years, and I've seen them do it before. And
You've
so
encouraged
you
them
can
in your media advisory, maybe.
Well, you can tell people coming in. Nah, God, I mean that's social media advisory works a whole different area. But you see them crank it, and you go, hang on, your level of understanding of this issue is such that you've been set up, to have a crack, and that's fine. Look, it's all. Look, Facebook, for example, or Twitter, it's like talkback radio. You've got to take a little bit of care of it, because you can't believe that everybody who's saying something is honestly an independent person who's just coming in with that opinion.
Well, yeah, I don't know what to say about that. I'm sitting on the City Vision team, and I'm proud to say, I'm part of a political party. I'm part of the Greens, Labours, and Community Independence, and I'm very proud to say, I think every time we say City Vision, we actually say what we are, and we're not ashamed of it, which is very important, I think, because that's where we aligned with. So.
And is social media quite a priority for you?
Yeah, it is, because you just never know, who would, there's so many people on social media. You start from Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Snapchat, even just one person get inspired to go out and post that envelope by October 5. That, I think our job is actually done, in a way. They have a right to say who represents them. Because in a lot of places, I grew up in Fiji, so you don't get the right to choose who to represent you. So to have that right is a huge privilege. And some people, I'm not going to say who it is, have actually thrown out their votes, because they don't care, which I found it really, really hard to understand why, because you have been given such a privileged task, and to choose who to represent you is very important.
Going back to social media, I agree. Thank you, Chang. Going back to social media, though, and hopefully no one here is going to throw out their voting papers at all.
Please don't.
Please don't.
Please exercise
I depend on
your
it, actually.
democratic rights.
Chloe, you've got a little bit sassy on some of your tweets.
That's one way to put it, yeah. Somebody actually made a gif of me from that Q&A interview that I had the other day when I was asked again about my age and I leant forward. That's now a gif.
But John Drinnan, who is notorious
Yeah.
for being outspoken on Twitter.
Oh, sorry, you mentioned
Sorry, I
John
mentioned-
Drinnan. I fell asleep
Yes.
for a moment. Yep.
Matt Nippert from the New Zealand Herald, both of them have, I don't know if they necessarily targeted you, but you rebutted against them on Twitter. It got into a little bit of a fiery storm. As a media advisor, Bill, would have you encouraged that?
No, not really. I mean, John Drinnan is as boring as batshit, to be perfectly honest. I mean,
So
yeah,
I'll actually respond to how those scenarios unfolded.
Sure.
So I was actually tagged in those. So I feel like I had an ability to actually respond.
And a
there.
right to respond.
Yeah,
and
a
anyone
right
can
as well.
tag you, eh? You get
Yeah.
tagged into all kinds of
Oh,
crap.
you do.
Yeah.
But I find it quite important to engage with people when you are tagged in those things, because I feel like social media is an amazing platform to democratise information, and it increases the accessibility. And I'm really hoping that as a result of
It's
effective
limited,
use,
though.
It is limited, but I'm really hoping that we see an effective pickup in voting this time around. But going back to John Drinnan and Matt Nippert, Matt has blocked me. And that was because
It's an achievement.
he tweeted at the spin-off after that second poll that came out, placing me fourth, stating that they were reading far too much into the margin of error and supposedly championing me in his perspective. And I simply said, is everybody not kind of in the margin of error, especially following Phil? And that the spin-off had absolutely a right to play this up, given that they've played up, well, no, the spin-off you haven't played up, but everybody, there's recently been, in the way that this election is run, the top four have been present at every single debate. And if those polls are the yardstick, then it is quite important now that I am featuring fourth in those polls. So I simply asked Matt why he, in having his position of influence, had decided to kind of attack me. And yeah, he blocked me. And John simply called me bossy, so I called him out on that. Yeah.
I'm sorry to use the word sassy, but it was quite sass in a good way of you posting the image of him blocking you.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
That again was just, we need more transparency
Yeah.
around these things. He is a person of influence, and I believe that influence should be used for the good of society.
You mentioned Phil Goff before. For anyone coming in that doesn't know too much about your policies and his policies, they might think you're both from the same team. How would you differentiate, or how would you say, vote for me over Phil Goff? Why should they do that?
So I have full respect for Phil. Obviously, we've been on the campaign trail at a number of different debates together. But in saying that, Phil represents the status quo. Phil represents management of essentially what we've seen for the past 6 years, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I have all respect for Len and what he's managed to achieve with the CRL and the developments with ATAP, the Auckland Transport Alignment Project, and our rapid transit network, things like that. And it is all slow progress in the right direction. The thing that differentiates myself and Phil is the fact that I have more progressive ideas, but also I'm seeking to really engage Auckland. I think that in sending off the voting papers, it shouldn't be a chore, it should be something that you're passionate about. And if I do go about winning this election, that will be surefire proof of the way that I've been able to engage Aucklanders, and that I am fit for purpose for the role of mayor, which is to have a vision and to galvanise Aucklanders to see that vision carried out.
Auckland has a lot of debt at the moment. I want each of you to please tell me, just keep short. How are we going to get rid of this debt without raising the rates, or should we raise our rates?
This is the boring bit, right, where you all go to sleep. Auckland has $7.6 billion worth of debt at last June. Here's the problem. We're reaching a thing called a debt ceiling. We can't actually physically borrow that much more under the local government authority scheme that they've got going, whereby you borrow this money, right? We've always, in the past, if we've got a big plan on, like we're going to build a new motorway, we're going to build a CRL, you'd borrow, and then you'd raise rates to cover it. We're getting to the point where you can't physically do it. And if you did do it, and if you broke away from the local authority scheme, you're going to lose your AA credit rating. You go, well, who gives a shit about that? Sorry, you go down to AA minus, that's 1% more on your rates, and you're no further ahead than you were in the first place. And this is why I keep raving on about it and boring people shitless. We've got a major financial issue on our hands, and we have to figure out it can't just be raise the rates and borrow more, because we physically will not be able to do so. 7.6 billion now, they want 11.5 billion in the next few years.
Should we do
25?
We're going to have to figure out how to raise
Is it
that
tolls?
money other ways.
Is it city
May
tolls?
well be.
Are you pro city tolls?
Yeah, look, on the motorways, if you have to do it, then we're going to have to do it. There are other ways to do it. You can do it with public-private partnerships if you can work it so you don't take too much money on board, too much debt on board. There are other ways to do it with infrastructure bonds, but that, again, is a part of borrowing. You know, there are a whole... I keep raving on about, by the way, Auckland Port. That's $3 billion worth of prime residential and commercial land sitting down there. We don't actually need that port.
Where's it going, Bill? Yeah.
We don't need that port. Tauranga and Northland, which we also partly own, can take up the slack. We can redevelop that. We can provide housing. We can provide commercial input. We can get $3 billion out of that land if we move quickly enough.
All right.
That's why I talk about it.
Chang, how are we going to get rid of the city's debt?
I've got to disagree with Bill, actually. I live in Parnell, so the port is very close to the residents of Parnell. And they want to keep it in public hands. They don't want it sold. They don't want it sold. No, Bill. If you have met the residents, they want the port there. They want the port there because it actually brings dividends to the council. And
2,000 trucks a day through Parnell. They're really happy with the port, yeah.
Well, there's some problems. There's some problems with it, but they want it in public hands. No, it's not. But the thing with the debt. So they have a $7.6 million debt, like Bill said.
Yes.
$7.6 billion
debt. $1 billion debt. So how much did they earn last year? They earned $3 billion. So
no, they didn't. They returned $54 million in dividends. Now, that is the dumbest amount of money you could get. You're talking about a $3 billion site and you get $54 million back. Port company can adjust their dividends year by year. Charge them rent and you might get something back that's really like the real equivalent value.
So to get back to your question...
Chloe, where do you sit on this?
To get back to your question, so... I agree with Phil. We do need to see more funding from central government, and that's something that both he and I have been attacked on the trail. And that's because in the OECD, the average amount of funding that we see from a central government level that goes into local spending is 30%. In New Zealand, it's less than half of that at 11%.
You're right.
So we have a big problem there, whereby the government's balance books, they look good, but it's not good for all of our cities around the country. So we need to see more funding from central government, especially to accommodate our growth.
You know, you talk about ATAC, and I think that's a really conservative thing that came out.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
It's a $4 billion funding gap on that one between government and local government. Auckland can do a little bit of it, but I tell you what, central government have to step up to the plate.
They really do, especially in stopping to build motorways.
If this city chokes, yeah, I agree with you. Public transport and a decent, rapid public transport system is the only way you're going to solve the issues.
We have to wrap it up, sadly. Time is up. However, all of you are talking. There's so much discussion. I want you to put your questions on a piece of paper and pop it in that box because we get to ask more questions very, very soon. Thank you so much to Chlöe Swarbrick. Thank you so much to Bill Ralston Chang Hung. And Russell Brown will be up next. Grab a drink. I'm so sorry that I had to stop that there.
Sorry, you were so wrong on the board.
Certain candidates are doing quite a good job this time around, like in terms of coming to uni and talking to people. And I don't know, just more events that we can go to, especially focused around uni.
Maybe plan some events, like community events or something, or like incentives or something.
More debates, like maybe see some candidates like debating in the park now in the Shade House. That'd be pretty cool. You know, maybe have like a barbecue, like talk to them.
Oh, I don't know if anything would make it more entertaining, to be honest.
I don't know, getting a lot more younger, I guess, audience involved.
If it was more, actively discussed on maybe a more relatable level, and that's probably what doesn't make maybe a lot of the young population that interested in it.
I think lots more public appearance. A lot of the stuff they're trying on Facebook, but I think it's a little bit more, that's too indirect. So I feel like if they're around town or just like in Devonport, like just talking to people, that kind of thing. Because they tend to aim their talking at older people because they think that they're the ones that are going to care and vote, but they kind of exclude younger people.
More young people, promote youth involvement. There's too many old people.
Yeah, entirely.
Having it all on social media more.
Having really hot people. More debates. More public debates.
I don't know, if they had more social media coverage.
Yeah, what he said.
And stuff like Golden Dormer, that sounds quite good. Like, I'd go to that.
I'm not sure if local body elections need to be entertaining, as long as they get the information out there and everyone knows what every participant is, what their background is and what they stand for. I think that's the critical element there.
Live on 95.
95.5 on Radio B.